Nigel, it is lovely to welcome you here this evening. I don't know how much other people know about Nigel, but he is a wonderful local businessman, entrepreneur who thinks outside the box. He is local, lives in Kenilworth, and he's the founder of Rant and Rave. First of all, worked for IBM, then he founded Rant and Rave in 2000, which he sold on. Now he is also founder of Make Good Grow, which is an inspirational organisation which puts businesses in touch with charities and helps them grow on to greater things. But the reason he's here tonight is because he's taken over what some of us knew as the Urquhart Hall. It was also at one time Sikh Community Centre, the headquarters of life, and for too long was an empty building looking for a use and someone to love it. And Nigel and his wife Nessie have taken it on, loved it, restored it, and made it into a really interesting place. And I'm not going to steal his thunder anymore. Over to you and welcome, Nigel. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Sydney. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you for the kind words. Yeah, I'm not sure I deserve those kind words, but yeah, my name is Nigel Shannahan. I'm not actually with Desi, my wife. She's downstairs. I think she's watching the football, actually. But just to explain a little bit about my background, I was born in Whitnash. I'm Leamington born and bred. Went to North Leamington School, went off to Loughborough University, had a mini career in accountancy, and then back into Leamington, where I worked for IBM in Warwick for many, many years, and then started my own business, which was called Rant and Rave. And sold it 2 years ago, and we were wandering, my wife and I, Desi, were walking around Jefferson Gardens, admiring the place, just having a talk about the future. And we were very much focused on Make Good Grow, which is a philanthropic business idea, which is people volunteering, not just their time, but their skill set. Yeah, so it was about back in October 2018. We were wandering around Jefferson Gardens and talking about Make Good Grow, which is this philanthropic concept of matching people with their skills to charities that need business problem solving. And we walked and just saw Urquhart Hall, as was then over in the distance. I said that would be just a great building for Make Good Grow. And we wandered over just out of nosiness and saw there was a sold sign on it, but underneath there was a planning notice, and the planning notice basically was expired. And we were just so taken by the outside of the building. It's just a stunning, strong building. And we looked at the plaque, and it said that Lady Sarah Urquhart in 1905 had bequeathed it to her daughter. And we looked into it, and she bequeathed it to her daughter for use by the community. So it got a real sort of historical and cultural significance to it. And we phoned the next day and expected them to say it was sold, and they said no, it came back on the market an hour ago, which just seemed like fate. So that afternoon we looked at the building and fell in love with it inside as well as outside. Didn't really understand what we were going to do with it. But my wife and I definitely felt that, we've been very fortunate in our sort of in our lives, and we had a sort of what I'd call a falling off the perch thought, which was, if I fell off the perch, would I be entirely fulfilled? And we didn't think we would. So we set about not only the philanthropic thing, which is Make Good Grow, but a sort of community venture, which is Mill Street. And I'd like to just take you through a couple of bits and pieces to do with Mill Street. What we tried to do, and I don't know if you can see this clearly, but we tried to create, with a lot of people's help actually, a little bit of a historic sort of timescale for Mill Street. So Barry Franklin in particular helped us with the input to the building and its history, which you can see it's a many and varied history dating prior to 1905. It's got one hell of a heritage to it, including, I think, a light infantry unit in World War I used it as some form of barracks, I believe. It's been used in the community in lots and lots of different ways, right up into the modern time. I mean, I actually played indoor football in that building many, many years ago, so I remember it. People have got married there. Many of you probably remember it as the Sikh Community Centre, which I think it was for, you know, I don't know how many years, but sort of 25-ish years. If anybody has any sort of other bits of input on the history of it, I would either love to hear from you, you know, now or later. I can also send these slides out to show you a little bit more of the sort of background research work we've done. Is everybody okay so far? Sydney, is this all okay? Because I'm just,
yes,
I can't see anybody. Yes, okay. This is all good so far.
We're seeing the slides really clearly, and it's all fine. And I'm sure just after you've done this, people will want to share maybe their stories when we come back a bit later.
Thank you very much. Okay, so when we first saw it, pretty much that was the site we had of Mill Street on the left there. This, what I would think is a beautiful red brick building that had probably lost a bit of its allure over the years, a little bit tired looking, but still very proud. And as I say, we fell in love with it. It's a pity I haven't got a picture of the plaque, but you can sort of see the plaque from the front. I don't know if you can see my mouse moving, but the plaque is somewhere here. And when we visited it inside, we also saw it got untold beauty. I don't know, those of you that have been in Urquhart Hall, I'm sure lots of you have. It has this just amazing, amazing roof. And again, it got sort of layers to it and this quality to it that we fell in love with. Unfortunately, you can't see the plaque, but the plaque is to the right of the picture of the building on the right-hand side there. In fact, if I move this out of the way, yeah, you can see the plaque on the right-hand side, actually, at the bottom. Okie dokie. So moving on, yeah, we set about a renovation project. Our vision for our vision that we've created is we call it a co-work, a smart co-work with a heart, and the heart piece sort of refers to Make Good Grow and the initiative we've got there. But smart co-work is probably not a term that many understand, because there aren't any co-work operations in Leamington. But basically a co-work is, instead of companies renting an office, which could be a big undertaking, a co-work is quite simply you work together and you're renting a desk. And in some cases, it's not a fixed desk. You can actually move around the building and just find a desk that's available to you. And so we set about a renovation project, and it was just a hell of an undertaking, to be honest. I mean, the budget we set aside for it, we blew within, you know, just a few months. And luckily, the building was in very, very good condition. You know, the foundations were strong, the roof was good and secure. But still, it just cost an awful lot of money to do and took us a lot longer than we thought. But it was a real passion project and a labour of love. And fair to say we've loved every minute of it. We've made it a family project. My son, Danny, is actually working, you know, he came back from America. He'd had a tough time in America, came back home, he was lolling around. And I said, why don't you just get involved in the building project, just get involved in a bit of labouring, and that's what he did, and he fell in love with the project and the building himself, and today he's running the day-to-day operations of Mill Street, which I'm very proud of. He's come a long way in a short space of time, so it's really a family passion project so far. Moving on, I'm just highlighting some of the beauty of the original wood and the features there. We've tried to pay homage to it where we can. I mean, you can see on the left-hand side here is a very strange sort of mezzanine layer. Basically, you go up the stairs, and at the top there is a square, what looked like a pulpit or something like that. I couldn't work out how it would function and whether it was actually built whilst the Sikh Community Centre were in operation. But suffice it to say, it gave us some ideas about a mezzanine level that you'll see in some pictures in a minute that we've done to it. But the beauty of the wood you can see for you know, perfectly there. And here we are. Lots of I've got many hundreds of these, not for tonight, but of the operation going on and the steels going into the building and so on and so forth. But I just thought I'd give you some view of the beauty of these windows. We didn't want to change the beauty. There's some stained glass windows at the top that we've retained, and all we did is we've actually, and you'll see in a minute, we've changed the plastic window frames back to a sort of an original feature, which again gives the building some strength. And more project pictures. And this is what we are today. I'm sure many of you have seen this today, but you can see the critical windows have gone in. We've changed the doors. We've got a big Mill Street sign there, but I hope you agree, you know, it's brought strength and character back to what was a beautiful building anyway. And that's the sort of view as you come from Jefferson Gardens up to the building today. What's inside it though is completely transformed, because we actually purchased the building from a Life charity who were using it for as a fertility clinic. So when we first went to the building, it had just cubicles everywhere, and now what we've created is in here. You can see these trees aren't real trees, but they do feel like real trees, and we've tried to create a real warmth to the place. And this area you can see is a cafe, and it is open to the public. So those of you that are tuned in and are interested, you know, when we are back open out of lockdown, you're more than welcome. There's no membership required. This is it's a very nice open cafe space. But unfortunately, we've only been able to use for 3 days, and then we were locked down. So we opened and then we went into lockdown. But the cafe is open for takeouts, and lots of people are coming. I wonder if one or two of you in the audience this evening have been to the cafe. I hope you have. And if you're around next time, please ask for Nigel or Desi, and we'd love to speak to you. But this is a shot of the inside, and you can see here all around, these are offices that are rented as well. So you've got a cafe space, and then you've got rented offices. So these are for businesses that are a bit more established, and then upstairs are for businesses that are more in startup mode, and that wanted to just rent a desk. And those offices and desks are rented on a monthly rolling basis, so they're very flexible. So if you have a change in circumstances, like we all have had, then people can get out of their commitment, which I was really quite, I thought was quite important. Is everybody okay so far? I'm just conscious I've never done a Zoom presentation. It's all very strange because you don't have any sort of audience feedback. But Sydney, is everybody okay, do you think?
Yes, we're all okay. Thank you very much. Fascinating.
Okay, good. I'll plough on then. I hope I'm not boring everybody.
Nigel, this is so lovely to see, you know, what you've come from and what you need, and we're all really keen, and later on people tell their stories, but just the transformation you make is absolutely stunning.
Oh, no, that's so kind, thank you, that's really kind. It's great to have that feedback, it really is. So yeah, you can see some of the shots of the downstairs, of the cafe space, and also of the cafe itself. And just of the general sort of, you know, feeling. There's people working there, there's mums with children. It was a beautiful 3 days, and then it all sort of went a bit pear-shaped, but you know, we're hopeful of the future. On the left here, bottom left, you can see the neon sign says Mill Street Studio, and what we've got in there is a podcast studio. It's basically a place that you can sit and record a conversation, much like a radio show, but the difference is the radio show is online, whereas the radio show can be broadcast live, but it can also be stored for later and accessed, and that's what they call podcasts. We've also got video capture in there, so we've got cameras set up, so we can actually have somebody come in, and if they want to, they can do a podcast, which is just voice, but they can also do a vodcast. I'm learning all these phrases, these terms, but they can do video capture and put their, their product presentation or their conversation with somebody up onto YouTube and all the other content platforms. That's not got off the ground yet because we haven't got operational. However, we've struck an agreement with with WASPs, Warwickshire County Cricket Club, and UK Athletics. I'm hopeful of having a conversation with, but the WASPs have already started their weekly podcast out of Mill Street. And if you're a rugby fan or a WASP fan, you may have tuned into their podcast. It's coming out these days from, we're very proud to say, from Mill Street. And we try and do some healthy stuff in the cafe, like this, Eat the Rainbow, 10 vegetable soup, very nice, I can say. But also, if you want a sausage roll or a nice big fat cake, then you can have that as well. So we're not trying to force nutrition on people, but we're also doing that. Well, University are in the building as well, so they've rented an office. And the difference between them renting an office, the building's got 8 offices of this type of size. The difference with Warwick is that they actually offer an incubation service, an incubation and acceleration service. And that basically means if you're a startup company with a proposition, but you're a little bit nervous about how to get going, then Warwick University will give you some business support, the tools and some resources, some mentorship to help you along your way. And I'm quite proud to say that when Warwick University were negotiating to come in, they wanted to make it relatively exclusive to Warwick graduates. And with the help of the district council, we lobbied a wee bit, not a lot, but a wee bit to say, let's make it more inclusive so that people can come from anywhere with no association with Warwick Uni, because we want them to have an association with Leamington. And so now there are currently 8 small startups in the programme, so they're members at Mill Street, but they're also getting business support from Warwick University's Ventures scheme. And there's not that you must have been a grad from Warwick to participate, which I'm pleased about. And upstairs, these are a couple of shots of upstairs. Obviously, you can see over the Christmas time, but a very light space, and basically very sort of relaxed. You've got a lot of structured seating and places, nooks and crannies, comfy seating, bean bags, all sorts of places where people can go and do their work according to what type of work they want to do. It's very much a pick and mix environment there, where people are, especially sort of creative and digital startups, they sometimes need their own quiet time. So there's little places, booths they can have complete privacy. There's phone booths, there's meeting booths. There's also open areas where they can have a chat. And what's been a beautiful thing is, even though we're not fully open, we are still having some members who aren't able to work from home working there. And the collaboration levels of working with each other on real business activities has been absolutely amazing. I mean, they've already, every member I've spoken with has said that their business has actually been more successful, and they're also socially more happy, having been in Mill Street. I suppose they would say that, wouldn't they? But I do think we can vouch for it. So I'm absolutely delighted. I think it's doing that a little bit for Leamington as well. And so this is this is the building at night. This is the warm feeling I get when we come home, because it does. It's been hard work, but it does make us proud. And you might be able to see there, we've got a sign on the left-hand side, do well, and on the right-hand side, do good. It's a bit more clear here, the do good bit. And that's our sort of philosophy. We want people in the building to thrive, the businesses to thrive, but we also want to be able to do our bits and do our bit of good. And that's reflected in Make Good Grow, which is not just for members. It's anybody can say, hey, I've got 2 hours to spare and I'm an accountant and I'm passionate about these charities. but I'm delighted to say that more than 50% of the members have already put their hands up for projects. So they're all doing their bit in here, which I think is a lovely sort of community-minded thing to do. So this is my final slide, is to say, if you see this, you don't have to see the doors open at the moment, because they're not, unfortunately, because of lockdown. But to the right of there, the cafe is open. And when we're open, those doors will be open, and please, we'd love to see you in there for a cup of coffee and a natter. It's the place where we hope, you know, community can come together, and not just the business community, but all members of the community are very welcome into Mill Street. And that's about it, really, as opening up, I guess, Sydney.
Yeah, can I just say thank you, Nigel, and congratulations, and I'll be coming along as soon as you're open.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. If you like to stop sharing your screen now, Nigel, I'm sure there are going to be lots of questions. Questions for Nigel, and thank you so much, Nigel. You are inspirational.
And can I just say, those questions might come also with, we know we said also about your own memories with those questions. So do feel you can put your story prefaced about this. I think, thank you, Nigel. I think you and Desi have actually, what's come from also this presentation is that you're very open, you're very warm, and you're very welcoming to the community. And that's not only in terms of visiting your place, but also in sharing your stories. I'm sure some people here have got some about it too. Who'd like to start? Clive.
Adrian.
Yes,
Oh,
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the first time I've experienced 1 Mill Street. I've walked past it. That's all I've done so far. Is it possible to have a meeting of some clubs or societies like the Leamington Society, and actually hire a meeting room for the monthly board meeting, to save having to go to our members' houses? And if so, how do you book it, and what would it cost?
Hi, Clive. Yeah, the answer is yes. Members and non-members can book meeting rooms. We only actually have 2 laid out meeting rooms. One is seats about 12 people in normal times. It's got a long oval table. Another one only seats 6, which is upstairs, a nice big round table. It's to members, it's £20 an hour, and to non-members, it's £40 an hour. The other way to have meetings, if they were more informal type meetings, there's lots of spaces in the cafe area where you could just meet and go book. Because we've got little nooks in the meeting area, you know, in the actual cafe where you can say, well, let's just meet, let's just grab this table here. And that, if you came in, that would be sort of clearer to you. Yeah.
Do you have to be a member of Mill Street to do that?
No, not for the latter. If you wanted to just grab an area, you know, it's sort of first come, first serve.
Right, okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Adrian, you're next, and then I'll hand over to Carol for organising the questions.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Nigel, for a very fascinating presentation. I moved to Leamington in 1987, and we lived in Church Street, and at the time it was the Sikh Community Centre, but it was also a venue for gigs and rock music, yeah. And which was very important in the town at the time. I remember at least one Rock Against Racism gig there, and all sorts of, Leamington had probably still has a very thriving alternative music scene, and the Sikh Community Centre was a big focus for that. I just wondered if you'd given any thought to opportunities for live music or any other kind of live performance there.
Hi, Adrian. Yep, thanks for the comments. We have. I mean, we because we haven't actually delivered any events as yet. We're still looking at all the possibilities. I mean, the core events we'll run there are going to be business orientated, but we also want to have networking events, and we want to have social events. And in terms of bands, it's a perfect venue for an intimate gig. It really is. I think we're just going to take stock of what the neighbours also think, because I think we're in danger of upsetting them a little bit. We applied for a license, a drinks license, and I think that the neighbour, instead of us going out to talk to the neighbours, we applied for the license, got the license, and then there was a bit of uproar. And I think they thought we were turning it into a nightclub, and we weren't. It's going to be a gentle place. You can have a drink as a member, invite member guests in, etc. So we'll be mindful of that, but we'd like to do those sorts of things, definitely.
Great, thank you very much indeed. I look forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
So Sydney, if it's okay, I think Margaret has a story to share next, which I'd love to hear, and anybody else who's got some stories of the hall, brilliant to share now.
Yes, I was teaching English as a second language at Warwickshire College in the 80s, and I remember going to the Urquhart Hall to recruit people to attend our classes, and the main part of Urquhart Hall, the big room, was full of women and children, but in one corner there was a small room, and I went in and there were about 6 or 8 men playing cards round a table, having taken refuge from all the women. And certainly it was a very happy, positive place. But of course, I do congratulate the current owners on the transformation they've made. It is 100 times more exciting a place now. And I think it's been so sensitively done. And I really look forward to having a look around.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you, Margaret. And as I say, just to reiterate, the cafe we've got is available for takeout. And as soon as we're out of lockdown, then we'd welcome everybody in to have a look and to seek us out as well. If you just ask for us, I'd love to show you around the rest of the building, and you're clearly sort of interested in it. So I'd love to, take you round and show you what we've done.
Thank you. I'll certainly do that.
In fact, Nigel, Esty would like to know what hours is the cafe open up at the moment?
It's open 8 till 4, and we're just looking at going 8 till 5. 8 in the morning to 5 at night, Monday to Friday. Not open at the weekends as yet.
And I can vouch for whoever knows Tracy, you'll know that she does a mean coffee or tea and cake. I have to avoid it. It's rather fantastic. So I know some other people here who've had some experience of the hall. Who else would like to share? Just put your hand up and tell us a story. Oh, someone down here, Janet. Janet, I'd love to hear your story. Just unmute yourself first, if that's okay.
Yeah, I am fortunate to live almost directly opposite the hall, and we've been delighted to watch the progress of the development. I have a lovely memory of many years ago taking an evening class there in Indian cookery and having a fantastic time where we cooked huge meals and then sat down and ate them. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
What was the reason? What was the reason you were having those meals there? Sorry, I missed that.
It was an evening class that somebody was teaching Indian. There were about 8 of us, and we would turn up each week and start off by being taken round to the shop to buy ingredients, and then cook the meal under instruction, and then we sat down and ate it. It was lovely.
Lovely. I do like communal eating, as particularly together. So the next question is from Adrian Dickinson.
Evening, everybody. So we were just wondering what the most interesting thing that you uncovered during the restoration was.
That's a good question.
While you were digging down or uncovering the walls?
I think we didn't come across any artifacts. We came across a Sikh symbol on the wall that we've retained, but we've yet to get to the bottom of what the meaning of the symbol was. But we didn't want to get rid of it. I suppose that was interesting. I think for me, I was surprised that the graveyard next door to Urquhart Hall had got some of the Flavel family buried in there, and obviously the Flavel family were the inventors of the Rangemaster, which is a sort of worldwide brand invention, and also were one of the biggest employers of Leamington at one stage, sort of in the industrial era or post-industrial era. And so that was quite interesting to find out that, and to find out about the fact that the Leamington as a town really originated in New Street, just one street beyond Mill Street. The origins of Leamington are there, and that was quite significant to us. I think that might have been Barry that told me that one.
Nigel, I've got some other questions I'm going to ask you in reverse order. First of all, one's Trevor Humphreys. He said, what's the original purpose of the building as the church hall to All Saints?
What? Could you say that again?
Wasn't the original purpose of the building as the church hall to All Saints Church?
Yes, I believe it was. Yeah, he's right. Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh yes, we can hear you, Trevor.
Can you hear me? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a magnificent building, entirely consistent with the magnificence of the parish church. It was obviously designed for a very large and thriving congregation, that the social needs of a very large and thriving conversation. And I worshipped at All Saints in the 80s, and it had long ago been sold by then as being quite superfluous to their needs. But I think it was for many years the thriving hub of the social life of that church, when it was very well supported, and indeed a major social venue in the town. And it's I think that aspect of the building has been slightly forgotten. In fact, there is a foundation stone at the side of the building with a religious dedication on it. But so that's my take on it. But again, it's a splendid building. I think you've done a wonderful job with it, and I do hope you can make a financial success of it. It must be a huge risk.
Thanks, Trevor. Yeah, we've had a lot of good support for it. I mean, obviously being in lockdown, I think we're in the same economic circumstances as many, that we don't, we're driving the business with a handbrake on, but we remain very hopeful of it. And I think if it's good enough and we do a good enough job in being a good team around it, I think we'll do okay in the end. But yeah, it's not the worst situation. Lots of people are in tougher situations.
And of course, Nigel, we will all be buying copious amounts of coffee there.
Please.
Meanwhile, over to Martin Green, who has a question. Martin.
Hello, yes. My interest is really in the history of the building. And it is in fact one of the buildings which was constructed by G.F. Smith, who's an eminent brickmaker and builder in Leamington Spa, responsible for a whole host of buildings in the town and beyond, including places like Wottonbury Church and Cowden Reservoirs, enormous range of buildings. But he'd worked on the parish church, and in the laying of the stone, it is reported in the Courier that Cecil Hook, the vicar, wanted to thank his old friend, G.F. Smith, for being involved in the construction of this building, the Urquhart Hall. And it was designed by Frederick Cundall, who's the son of John Cundall, and Smith carried out the whole of the building work, reported in the Courier as in a most creditable and expeditious manner. So G.F. Smith, a key player in the development of the architectural heritage of the town, and this is one great example of his work. And thank you for a very interesting talk, Nigel.
Martin, thanks for that.
I love the stories building. It just gets deeper and deeper. And in fact, Janet has got another question now. Over to you, Janet. I presume that's Janet Ainley's second question.
I think I'm a different Janet.
Oh, no, Janet. Janet across. Janet number 2. Janet, who's black at the moment in colour.
Perhaps I'll stay black. No. Nigel has touched on this, but first of all, I just wanted to say, like a lot of people have said, you know, what a fabulous renovation. It's such a handsome building. It's so great that it's being kept and developed. Nigel has touched on this. I just wondered if he could tell us anything else about the adjacent cemetery. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Janet. Yeah, lovely comments. So we're aware there are bodies there as well, because at one stage somebody said that there are gravestones here, but there are no bodies buried, and that's not actually true. We believe there are. The latest view is there are 8 bodies there. I reached out to Mr. David Hine, who actually owns the house in New Street that overlooks the graveyard, and he owns the piece of land. And it was with a view to saying, would he be prepared to look at me purchasing it? Because we wanted to look at the possibility of creating a courtyard there that paid homage to the gravestones, but you also could be used as an outside cafe space. I thought it would have been really nice, because we just noticed that it wasn't very well kept. The grass grows up to yay high. It doesn't look particularly nice, and I wondered if he wanted it taking off his hands. And he's having to think about it. He's a very nice gentleman, but and I'm not quite sure what his plan was for it. But yeah, we're going to have a chat next week.
Yeah, and there's an undertaker's there as well, isn't there? Or used to be an undertaker's there.
Betty Baker, sorry, Betty Baker. My apologies. I think your microphone was on at this particular point, but that's fine. So I think you actually wanted to ask a question at one point, didn't you?
Who's that?
That's you. You're.
Oh. Yes, no, it wasn't a question. It was a usage. I can remember as a very small boy, and I'm going back to the late 40s or early 50s, going with my parents to a meeting of the Magic Circle there and seeing a lady being sawn in half. And so that is one use that it was put to. I also would like to recommend it as a coffee stop, because many times my wife and I have bought coffee there, takeaway coffee, and
Scrumptious cake.
the cake, the chocolate, white chocolate biscuits are really good.
Thank you very much.
I can vouch for those. And I'm over now to Helen Ireland, who's got an interesting point to make here. Helen Ireland, are you here? I'm going to see if Helen's not here. She was just saying that there's a really interesting connection between All Saints Church, in fact. I don't know if anyone can actually expand on this, but there's still a meeting room in All Saints Church called the Urquhart Room. So what's the story?
Yes, there is. It's the big room at the back where they have a cafe now. And it's the one warm place in the church as well. And it keeps its heat overnight.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Is that Trevor?
It's Trevor again.
Trevor?
Yes, when I was at All Saints, they had a fund called the Urquhart Fund, which was the money that accrued from the sale of the Urquhart Hall. But I do know that they were always very unwilling to spend the money from the Urquhart Fund. But I think they use it to develop the Urquhart Room. And probably there's no money left in that fund now. But certainly the room is a splendid memorial of the Urquhart building.
Right, the plot thickens, and so does this part, actually. Caroline Sharp has asked you, Nigel, could you finish telling us about purchasing the graveyard plot? I think we maybe jumped in.
No, that's yeah. Well, there's so I've identified that Mr. Hine owns that plot, and I reached out to him to say that I would love to create a sort of a courtyard space there. So maintain it nicely and pay homage to the gravestones. Probably, you know, get a bit more of an understanding of who's exactly in there, and tell a bit of a story, and create an outside space with some lighting and things like that. I'm not 100% hopeful because I think Mr. Hine perhaps has other things, but we are going to talk next week. We've been sort of half talking to each other for about a year now. I think he's reticent, but I don't know. He's a very nice chap, very reasonable. So we will see. I would love to do something with that there because I think it would be a nice outside space for the members.
Nigel, just I wanted to ask you my own question, which was, what's your ultimate vision? At what point do you consider this success?
Well, I think it's probably good, right? It's not a money-making venture. You know, I think both Make Good Grow is fully financially supported by me at the moment, and we're hoping that businesses will subscribe to have their employees help find the employees the right projects and sort of write those projects up in a nice way. With Mill Street, our goal is to make sure that it's financially viable, that it sort of supports itself. That for me as a business person is important because then it shows there's a need in the market for it. For me, in terms of what the place does, I genuinely think I want it to be a place that people feel there's a warmth when they walk in. They belong there and they can thrive there. We also see this thing in the new world post-COVID. We've been looking at a lot of research about the new way people want to work. They want to work in a very flexible way. They want to work with other people where they can socially interact, but they can be in the place and they can be working from home as well, where the lines between the physical and the digital are blurring because you can do some things at home online like this, but there's still people still crave social interaction. So we want to make sure that we can offer that flexibility for people, and a place where the lines are blurred also between work and play. Hence why we wanted to put a bar in and a coffee shop, because we see that people want to grab a drink and carry on a business conversation and those sorts of things. And we don't think people are going to be falling out of place drunk, but the blurring of the lines of work and play and physical and digital, that's our vision for the place. That number one is a place where people can be their best, really thrive.
Wow, it's great. Can I ask, is there any other questions or comments from our...
Can I make a comment? My name is Diane Woodward. I'm a member of the Warwick Society, and I got the link from the Warwick Society for this meeting, and it was obviously very, very popular because I tried quite early on, but after 7:20 to get on, and it said it was full. And maybe if you're going to, groups are going to share Zoom meetings, you could perhaps increase the capacity. I got on just after Nigel had finished his talk, because obviously somebody listened to the talk and then went, and they said they'd let me in once somebody left. So I've heard all the interesting chat afterwards, but I missed the talk, so I should be quizzing a friend who did listen to the talk. So maybe if you have another one, you can extend the numbers so we can all get on for the whole meeting. That would be
Diane, thank you for that comment. We've never had as many people before our maximum before has been about 80. We've got 100 people today. But the good news is that the talk will be available on the website later.
Oh, that's brilliant. I mean, I was on an information Zoom like this the other day that had over 500 on it, so you can have an awful lot more. But it was just a point. I was gutted that I missed the talk, so I will catch up on your website. Thank you.
Diane, can I give you further good news in that we're having a double dose of Nigel, actually, because in fact, hearing as part of slightly tangential, but Warwick District Council are also doing a Spark conference next week. I might as well give a quick plug though there. It's basically 50 speakers, 22 subjects over 15 hours across next week. So anybody that Googles warwickdc.gov.uk/Spark 2021, Nigel is giving the talk. I think you're on Tuesday, aren't you? Tuesday, I think Tuesday at 3 o'clock. I'll put it. I think it's Tuesday 3 o'clock. So it's also, I'm going to do a quick thing about that's actually different speakers on everything from placemaking into the town, the development of actually the train station, Commonwealth Games. We've got Shanine Bethina who's going to give the outline for this Coventry City of Culture. We've got Leamington Young Talent. It really is a vast amount of subjects that you can just curate your own programme, dip into which talks you wish to. And Nigel's very kindly giving this one to Leamington Society this evening. And then next week will be slightly different.
So that's Warwick District Council's website /Spark 2021.
2021. And then all you do is the whole programme. When you go into that, you'll see the programme, you sign up. And basically, it's quite nice. It's like having your own talk smorgasbord, and you can just dip in and you don't even have to appear on camera like this. You can just tune in to any talk that takes your fancy. And
that's brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah,
Carol, we have Alan Mays and Barbara Lynn who would like to ask a question.
My apologies. I digressed. Alan Mays next.
Thank you very much. Nigel, well done. It's a brilliant job that you've done. I think when I was working for the council, we actually gave a grant to the building, either for the roof or for repointing it. I don't know what the roof was like when you took it over, but anyway, one of the conditions was that the plastic windows should be taken out, which they never were. So I'm very pleased to see you've changed the windows, and it looks absolutely brilliant. So very well done. And when I next can come to Leamington, I shall look forward to coming and have a cup of coffee with you. Thank you.
Thanks, John. You're welcome.
And Barbara.
Yeah, thank you. Back to the present of the hall rather than the past. Whenever I've been in there, which is several times now, I get the impression it's a very young community. And what kind of industries or companies or businesses are there? I heard the incubator unit praised highly at the video games events this week, yeah? And is it just video games and these young industries, or is it a wider cross section?
That's a great question, Barbara. In terms of the demographic, I would say I would think the average age would be around 30 if you were levelling out across everybody. There are some older people like myself that are I like the fact that there is quite an eclectic mix of people with experience, and then there are some straight out of university, graduated, and they're starting up their they're on their first career path. In terms of the sectors, there's a whole, it's wide and varied. I mean, we have Sikh Wheels, which does what it says on the tin. They've got an office. We've got a property company that are in there. We've got marketing agencies. We have got games companies. We've got video games designers. We've got digital marketeers. We've got consultancies that work in education. One consultancy works globally in education. We've got BBC engineers in there. We've got Sky reporters. we've got the chief executive of Butlins Group, we've got the chief executive of the NEC Group. These are individual members as well as the office rental. So we've got, very proud to say, but they haven't moved in yet, Mediatonic. I don't know if you've heard of Mediatonic, but they are, well, they have a game called Fall Guys, and I'm not a gamer. I don't know if any of you out there are gamers. I'm not familiar, but it's a family-friendly game, and it's the most successful game in the world right now. And Mediatonic, who've got, they've got offices elsewhere. You know, they do have an office in London and Brighton, but they're making a hub out of Leamington because it is Silicon Spa, and they've taken that mezzanine layer over, and they're fantastic people. They've got just a great culture, the way they are, and yeah, this game has sort of taken the world by storm. It wasn't expected to, and it's just sort of risen. So we've got all sorts, and the beauty is, you know, they are all getting on. It's just really nice. They have a Wednesday drink together now, the members. And I think it started with two guys just sort of saying, well, let's just have a drink before we go home. And we've got fridges there and we can stock beer and wine. And Wednesday morning, they sort of sent me a message, you're coming to the drinks tonight, aren't you? And I said, I'm not drinking on a school night. I'm not up for this or that. 25 of them there last night, just having a you know, a quick hour and a half together before home, you know, just sort of getting to chewing the fat, you know, sharing a few war stories and whatnot. I think it's great. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Doctor. Very interesting. So there's real scope for collaboration there, given the range of companies.
Real scope, yeah. Lawyers, accountants, we've got all sorts. It's really quite interesting. Yeah.
Thank you. It looks wonderful when it's
yeah, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments coming forth? Is that okay, Sydney, then?
Yes, from me. Hello.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I knew I was going to miss somebody. Hello, Francesca.
Hello, hello. Hello, Nigel. Francesca Certo here. Hello. Long time no see. Small world. Congratulations. I can see most definitely you put your heart and soul into this project. And I know that you and Desi are always full of energy. So my question to you is, what next?
Making Lakewood grow something special. Yeah, that's now. I'm reaching out to local chief executives, Francesca, and just sort of saying, are you aware of Make Good Grow? Would you give an hour of your time on the phone just to do a quick call with a charity? And that's, you know, that's going to be my passion. I've also invested in another company called Social Supermarket, which is, think of Amazon, you know, a marketplace. We can buy products, but every product has got a social impact story behind it. You know, they're either raising money for autism or for homeless charities or whatever. But the products are fantastic, and the guys are all out of Warwick University. There's 3 young guys out of Warwick University, and it's Social Supermarket. You can buy hampers from there. And the beauty about the hamper, instead of buying it from, you know, Fortnum and Mason, you can buy a beautiful hamper, and in there's a little catalogue that tells you all of the social impact you've created by just buying the hamper. It's absolutely beautiful. So I'm putting my energy into, you know, being a business person, but trying to sort of turn it to do well, do good, I suppose. I still want to do well, but I want to do good.
Well done. Thank you.
Nice to see you, Francesca.
But I love that idea of social supermarket. That is stunning. Just checking, actually, there's nobody else. If anybody wants to quickly pop their hand up or put a message in.
Helen has put her hand. Oh, she's either cheering or got her hand up.
I think that's a cheering. Thank you.
It was a cheer.
Thank you. A cheer and a wave. And it's now to Archie.
Yes, I'm afraid I have to go now, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Helen. Lovely to meet you.
Bye.
A quick, the way Nigel answered Barbara's point about who works there and type of people, it sounded to me as if it was strictly standing room only from the whole list of different firms, businesses, charities, groups that there were there. A really fantastic mix. And it's wonderful to see such a success. My wife and I lived next door to the building, Urquhart Hall, for 25 years. And when we were first there, this beautiful ceiling that we all now see and admire was hidden with level plasterboard painted white. And that was all you could see, none of the timber. So when it came down 15 or more years ago and revealed that beautiful domed ceiling, that was a major step forward in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Archie. I mean, and thanks for the email earlier. I really appreciated that. Nice to put a face to a name. But when we walked in, I mean, for those of you who've been in, it's like the hull of a boat, an upside down boat. You can see the hull, and we were astounded by it because it's just beautiful quality. And we've restored it a little bit. We painted it just to brighten it up. So we painted it, which was a debate. I didn't really want to paint it, but my wife sort of insisted. And in the end, she was right. You know, it really has lifted it, but you can still see the beauty of the wood there. And yeah, we do like it. And it's got great acoustics as well.
Nigel, before we wrap up, can I just ask, before I hand back to Sydney, can I just ask a final thing? Because I just happen to know that the architects who did this are not only local, but it so happens as one of the moms that I actually, when my children were at St. Peter's School, I actually did a project with her to fundraise to put some play equipment in the school. So it was this wonderful moment when I went into your building and saw Monica. So tell us a bit about them, because yet again, they're local, which I love.
Yeah, well, Jonathan Holland and Associates. Monica works with Jonathan Holland, and the two of them were the double act that helped us with not only Urquhart Hall or Mill Street, but also our house here in Kenilworth. So we've known Jonathan years and years. And the reason I'm just saying that is because Francesca, the reason I laughed is because Francesca actually did the design of our garden. That's why I laughed before. But Jonathan has projects in Uruguay. He has 5 projects in Switzerland, but he also will entertain anything of interest anywhere that just grabs his imagination. And he's just been fantastic with us, a real partner. And Monica, she's Monica is Uruguayan, isn't she, I believe? Actually, they've been fantastic. Such attention to detail and creativity at the same time.
Fabulous.
Nigel, thank you so much for an energizing and inspirational evening. I'm pretty sure nobody will go away from your talk without feeling, gosh, goodness, how wonderful, and hopefully being inspired themselves to do a bit of good as well in the coming weeks to their neighbours. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your enthusiasm and the story of Mill Street with us all tonight. Thank you for that. And I shall hand back to Carol briefly, who's going to tell us about our next meeting.
Yes, thank you all. Thank you, Nigel. That was stunning. And thank you, everybody. As you know, we love to see you all. You make everything worthwhile. So the next talk is actually a little bit different. As you know, we are one of our names is Silicon Spa. So we actually have Abby Plum, who's going to be talking. She's a senior technical manager for Unity Technologies, and she will be talking about the role of women in gaming and also development and diversity. So I think it's going to be quite interesting to hear from somebody who's one of the big companies here giving her view, because I'm not personally a gamer myself. So I'm fascinated to learn a little bit more about this world of what draws you into gaming and how does it work. She also happens to be the ambassador for women in gaming for the UK. So I'm actually delighted that she's also in Leamington, and then we're going to hear her. And thank you yet again for taking part. The talk will be on the website. If you've enjoyed this evening and you'd like to join in any other things we're doing, please actually become a member of this wonderful society. Thank you very much for your time. And over to Sydney to say.
Before I say goodbye, we actually have another talk at 2:30 on the 3rd of March. Some of you may be aware that Warwickshire County Council is refreshing its local transport plan, and it's out to a local consultation at the moment. Before the consultation finishes, we have arranged a talk from Stephen Rumble and one of his associates. He's the transport man at Warwickshire County Council, who is going to explain to us all what this refreshing of the local plan is, so we can be informed before we all reply to the consultation. It will affect us all, whether we walk, cycle, use buses, taxis, cars, whatever. So do join us then on the 3rd as well as on the 18th of March. Thank you all very, very much indeed for coming. It's a delight to have you all. It's amazing to have to apologise to people that they couldn't get in at the start, but it's a mark of our success as well.
Amazing.
Thank you. Good night to you all. Good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you all.